All right, gentlemen, this is your main man, Scott McKay. Welcome you to another episode of the Mountaintop Podcast from X and Y Communications. Listen, gentlemen, you've already heard before from me and from others. It's not even an opinion. It's a fact that if you're funny, if you've mastered the right kind of humor with women, it's a superpower. Okay. But a lot of guys are thinking maybe, it's not something I was born ready to do. I mean, is it something that people have as kind of like a natural gift and it's just really hard to learn? Well, I firmly believe from personal experience that learning how to be funny is something you can learn. It's a learned skill and it is worth the effort. Just like going to college, learning how to play golf, whatever you put effort into, it's worth the effort here too. With me today to talk about the topic of the kind of humor that really attracts women and why being funny is a superpower in and of itself, which of course we've talked about before, but he's going to have his own perspective on it, which is fantastic. Wait till you hear it. Is my good buddy who is currently in Yerevan, Armenia, as always, Jim Wolfe. Jim, welcome back, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, Scott. It's good to see you.
That wasn't very funny.
I'm not trying to be funny, which is a key part of being funny, I've learned.
That's probably the first place we should start. Now, of course, I'm just messing with you. Talk to me about your idea of how a man would use humor if he really wants to be attractive to women. Give us the baseline.
So I think that we all kind of understand at some level, just out there in society, it's kind of known that funny men do well with women. And I think we kind of tend to apply that to the attraction phase. Like when you first meet her, if you're just meeting a woman at a bar or whatever, that's kind of the cliche that we think of, like, oh, you got to be funny and then you can be successful with women. But one thing that I found that's really interesting as I was like doing my master's degree and studying this stuff seriously, and I actually started taking comedy seriously and humor seriously just a couple of years ago. But in general, I learned that positive
That's
humor
ironic in and of itself.
Yeah. I take humor seriously now in a lot of different ways, not just with dating and relationships, but it does absolutely apply to dating and relationships, probably at one of the highest levels of any area of life. And not only is it powerful when you first meet a woman, positive humor has been shown to be a protective buffer around your relationship with a woman. And so, it's pretty clear, you don't have to say this right now, that things can be hard in life. It's pretty obvious to most people right now in the world that things aren't always peachy keen for everyone all the time.
So, yeah, if I remember correctly, if Armenia doesn't share a border with Iran, it's, 1 degree of separation, right?
Yeah, there's one border crossing down there in a little sliver that's a border with Iran right now. So,
yeah,
life can get really heavy, and it's not just in the world, in your relationship too. You have bills due, the kids are screaming around. Life is stressful and difficult. And if you want to protect that relationship, if you do want to have a long-term relationship, being able to use positive humor is a really amazing thing that you can bring to a woman, whatever your goals are.
And it's not only that, hey, you had a few cute jokes and you were light and entertaining when you first met her. It's that there's a sustained habit between the two of you of not only being funny, but having a sense of humor.
Yeah.
A sense of humor is literally understanding what's funny. That's literally what it is. And, a lot of people claim to have a sense of humor and they don't. Right?
Yeah.
So it is indeed one thing to walk up to a woman in an approach situation and be able to make her laugh because of the humor you use.
Yeah.
It's another thing to get into a relationship and continue not only to have a sense of humor, which, in my estimation is not taking yourself so seriously. I was chuckling along with you about how the idea of taking humor very seriously is ironic. You know what I mean? Because, humor is levity. It's not so serious and weighty. And I always talk to guys about being warm and light instead of heavy. Pesado is the word they use in Mexican Spanish. And too many guys are so wadded up with, outcome dependency and, oh, am I going to get rejected, that they get really nervous, of course, and then they get really negative and pessimistic. And there's no way you're going to be warm and light when you're so worried about the outcome.
That's right.
Now, you and I were talking quickly before we actually clicked record on this to remind these guys. I've talked extensively about if you want to make women laugh, all you really have to do is make them feel comfortable, because when women feel safe, they start laughing. When they're having fun, they start laughing. And a lot of guys are allergic to fun. And of course, fun is the root word of funny, just like something that runs is runny, right? It is the same part of speech. Yet we use funny in such a different context so often that we forget that. And guys, like I said, they don't like fun. Fun isn't serious enough. We're not providing and protecting and doing work and doing hard things and being stoic, duck face to the camera if we're funny. Yet, if we're funny, we start getting all the women. Isn't that strange?
It is, if you think about it in a straight up way like that, but it's actually not surprising at all, because there's a few things here. I think that this is actually a two-sided virtuous cycle where, yes, if she's feeling safe and having fun, then she's going to laugh more. And also, if you bring attractive humor to the situation, she's going to have more fun and she's going to feel safe. This is actually, even with kids, a child feels safe when the father is using humor. And a woman needs to feel safe. So it's kind of like you ride a roller coaster because it's exciting, but also safe. That's what humor is in a conversation. And at the meta level, in the things that you're doing with her, you talked about having fun, keeping a light and playful atmosphere at all times. That's really important, and not just on your first date, which is critical, in my opinion. And you want to see if she the best thing is if she taps your arm when you make a joke or you tease her a little bit. That's kind of what we're looking for. But even after you've been with her for 20 years, you should still, even if everything is going a little haywire at home, you should still be able to take her out and have a fun, light time and not think or talk about any of that stuff for that 1 hour, at least every couple of weeks. And that's one of the things that keeps those feelings for you from her mostly alive, and also yours too. And you can have that fun with her over an extended period of time. And you have to make it a priority. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum. You have to do it.
Yes, it's intentional, just like any other skill. And I do believe it's a skill. And once you learn the skill, you can make a habit of it. And indeed, if you show up as some kind of pickup artist and you have a few funny lines, that's not sustainable. Anything that's going to keep a woman attracted long term has got to be something that is authentically part of you. And that's why learning this skill is like magic. If you do magic, that's pretty good with the chicks too. But you
it can be,
have your little bag of tricks with you. Guys who play guitar are magical with women, but you don't always have your guitar with you. Humor is absolutely eminently portable. You can take it everywhere. Matter of fact, you can't get rid of it. It's stuck to you if you do it right. You mentioned this idea of women feeling safe, which of course is a pillar of what we talk about around here, is big for men. When women feel safe with you, they do start laughing. I can't underscore enough for these guys that if you just make women feel safe and get to a point where you can, I don't know, stop being allergic, take a shot, take some Zysol, whatever you're going to do, stop being allergic to fun. You've conquered most of a problem that guys never figure out. You're 90% of the way there if you're just warm, light, and help women have fun. But it's this 10% we're talking about today, which, I don't know about you, okay? Maybe people are funny in Armenia, okay? But I can count on one hand the number of other guys I know who are genuinely quick and witty and have this kind of humor down. I can count them on one hand. It's rare. And I think it's not because it's impossible. I think just too many guys think it's something you're either born with or not.
Yeah, I want to jump in here because I actually took a stand-up comedy class a couple of years ago. And I wasn't even sure if you could really learn to be better at humor. I didn't know if it was an inborn skill or not. I have seen guys obviously improve with dating a lot before, but I hadn't seen people improve comedy before. And in this
was
class,
the instructor funny?
She was awesome. She was more of a technician. Like, she really knows her stuff, and she's got like a theater background and stuff as well. So she was amazing and strong teacher. But there are things you can learn and you can get better at it. I saw every single person in the class get funnier. And then I started teaching the attractive humor stuff to men, and I saw them get better at it. And now I know for sure you absolutely can learn it, and you can keep applying it over the rest of your life. And the cool thing is, it works for any kind of personality. Okay. It just has to be congruent. So you can
That's
be
right.
really high energy. You don't have to be that high energy guy going to the bar and dancing and, being high energy and outgoing. You don't have to be that guy if you're not, and you shouldn't try to be. It actually
Well,
will
just
make
look
you
at all
less
the
funny.
different,
Yeah.
look at all the different stand-up comedians out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you can be super laid back and chill and not say a lot and be hilarious to a woman in an attractive way. And that's what we're getting to. It's not the same. It's not the same thing talking to a woman on a date as doing a stand-up routine. You don't want to be a clown or a performer or something like that. But if you bring this attractive humor, then it doesn't matter if you're laid back or outgoing or high energy. It doesn't make any difference. She's going to feel good. And
What's
the
the
cool
difference
thing
between
is,
the attractive humor and the unattractive humor?
yeah, so there's two knobs that you can kind of turn up and down when you're interacting with a woman. I mean, there's probably more, but just for this analogy, there's
That's
two.
me and you.
Yeah, exactly. We're two knobs for sure. Knob Creek.
on this show we are, but go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So there's two knobs, right? And one is pressure. And that's the one that most guys are feeling and turning up in the connection with her. Like, they start liking her and they want pressure, pressure, pressure. Let's be together. Oh my God, is she going to be my girlfriend? Am I going to get a kiss? What's going on? Pressure, pressure, pressure. They're just
Not
cranking
warm
that
levity.
pressure. There's just pressure.
Not playful, not fun. Yeah.
And love is light and playful. It's not heavy and serious. Okay. And so
Love.
Yeah, love and also attraction. They're not light.
Okay.
They're light and playful.
Yeah, no pressure there if we're already talking about love on the first.
Yeah, exactly. But even that, like, it's not, pressure kills that. Pressure kills female interest.
Yes.
Okay. So you want to turn that knob as close to zero if you can, as you can. And the other knob is tension. And the amazing thing, what makes attractive humor a superpower is you can turn the pressure to zero and turn the tension to 10 if you want at the right time. And you need both of those knobs down to 0 and to 10 to be successful with women. And so I think that's what makes humor a superpower with women, is you can turn those knobs at will once you learn how to do it. And I have all the formulas of how you can do that. And you can use your real personality through those formulas or through how it works, and just be yourself, but in a way that she feels good about.
I want to hear a couple of your formulae. Okay. But I want to acknowledge something that you said, because I think it's really smart. And I don't want it just to go, be passed off by these guys as something that, wasn't so important. Tension is different than pressure.
Yeah.
Sexual tension, women know what that means. Oh, you and I like each other.
Yeah.
This could get horny very quickly. And I think, some guys would call this a shit test if they're pessimists. But I think the guys who understand masculinity, the big four guys out there, would understand that this is a woman asking your masculinity to come out and play with her. Not to shrivel up and get all tense and start applying pressure.
Yeah.
But to just relax. And when we relax, we're lighter. And when we're lighter, we start being funnier. Naturally.
Yeah.
Improv is not built on comedy necessarily. Yeah. Improv is built upon advancing conversation with each other. If you go take an improv class, what you're doing is you're learning social skill, really. Yes, and you don't just say, well, no, I disagree with you and you're a jerk. You go, not only that, but also, and then next, you're having a conversation with someone and you're getting along with them. But the uncanny thing about improv is it almost always becomes humorous.
Yeah.
And people who aren't funny suddenly go, wow, this is great. We're all laughing. When you can raise that sexual tension, that sexual threat, okay, the woman is watching you as a man to see if you can handle it. Are you going to turn it into pressure, Or are you just going to pass this off and still be light about it and be able to, not take yourself so seriously and mix in some humor, even as that sexual tension is boiling? Because it's an intensity. So if you are a good man, can you handle that intensity with levity, or do you shrivel up under it? And see, when you answer in a light way to that, I mean, we all want to create this sexual tension, then we don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? It's like, you asked for this, now you got it. Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. So all these guys are trying to get sexually tense with women, and then they freeze up and get tensified, right? When they should have relaxed and said, oh, first of all, she's already playing along. So if she's playing along, why do I want to stop being playful?
Yeah.
And then you play along, and then the next thing you know, this sexual tension increases, which I think you captured, well, certainly in fewer words than I just did. But I think the elaboration is necessary there, because guys don't see this. They have a blind spot. It's apply the pressure, get her to bed, get her number, acceptance, rejection, ones and zeros, no gray area. And then when the woman starts trying to raise that sexual tension, we can't handle it. But when you man up, you actually don't get tougher. You actually get lighter. Give me a couple of those formulas for establishing this. I love that you can actually objectify this.
Just to add to what you said, relaxing is masculine.
It is. And
the thing is, one thing to really keep in mind, women tend to get into the internal state that you're in. They tend to feel how you feel.
You lead.
So if you're chilling and laid back and you don't have any pressure and you're like, this is awesome, and you're having fun and you're not trying to be funny, but you're sharing humor with her, you're having a good time and you're getting to know her a little bit, guess how she's going to feel. But if you feel a lot of pressure, guess how she's going to feel. And so humor is a tool where you can communicate things that you might not be able to communicate well with anything else. It's just like the court jester back in the day. Like, you don't want to be a jester with women, but the court jester can say bad things about the king that no one else can, because he's being funny with it. It allows you to deliver.
Social commentary brought about by comedians is just ruthless sometimes.
Exactly. And you see the rise of comedians right now because they're the ones who tell the most truth. And that's what's being valued in our society right now, at least online. You know what I mean? So
it reminds me of the story of Jeff Dunham, where he says he was invited to go do a show in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And he goes, if I do Ahmed, the dead terrorist in Saudi Arabia, they'll kill me. You know what I mean? And he said, he talked to him. They were like, no, we're bringing you here to do Ahmed, the dead terrorist. He goes,
exactly.
Am I getting punked? And he said he went there and he did the Ahmed, the dead terrorist thing. And these people just died laughing.
And so that goes really into this like double feeling of safety plus a little more danger than normal. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say the same stuff in a serious way. Like, I'm not attracted to you at all. That sounds like crazy. But if you say like, you seem really cool. It's too bad I'm not attracted to you at all. You just kind of drop it in there. Like, now she's like, what? Like, that's now. Right.
And now you're being
she
playful.
Feels like a challenge. She feels like teased. Women understand that teasing is flirting. And we lose that after we get out of grade school, because we're all serious and everything.
And of course, women also understand flirting is not non-binary.
That's right.
In other words, it's not a 1 and a 0. It's definitely sexually charged. It's not non-binary in that respect. But men think, okay, either I'm not talking to her at all, or nice shoes, let's screw. It's one or the other. You go from 0 to 10. But women have this knob that they turn up. And if you're just talking to each other as a man and a woman would, the test is, to me, at least, if you're talking to her in a way you wouldn't talk to another dude, guess what? You're actually already flirting by a female definition, because you're acknowledging her femininity. Then you test the waters and it starts getting a little bit more horny, as you turn that knob past about 5. And guys, when they understand that, then basically what you're understanding, once you understand that principle, is you're getting the basics of sexual tension. You understand that better. Yeah.
Yeah. Not even just sexual tension too. This is also kind of how you you don't want to put any relationship pressure if you're going for a long-term relationship either. Like, if you go on 3 dates, it doesn't mean you're together yet. Chill out a little bit on that. Bring some levity to that too. Keep it light and playful as long as you can. And all of a sudden she's going to start saying like, oh, are we going to be together or what? Like, what are we? That's what we want. And so you got
It's
to
true.
keep it lighter on your end. Even if you already know you want to be with her after one date, you want to use humor instead of showing her that. Keep it light and playful for a lot longer.
This is going to sound like the most Captain Obvious statements that I've ever, one of the most Captain Obvious statements that's ever Captain Obvious. But I've never really said it out loud, but it's so basic. If you want a woman to want to be with you, she has to want to be with you.
Yeah.
I mean, the more she likes hanging around with you, the more fun this is instead of work, the more she's going to want of you. And so you're absolutely right. You don't have to talk. You don't have to push for the relationship. All you have to do is be the kind of guy she would like to spend more time with, the kind of guy she's getting addicted to, can't stop thinking about. And it's funny because sometimes I tell guys, you got to be real careful once you learn this skill, because you'll start they'll all want to marry you. And they've known you for 10 minutes. It's how powerful it is.
That's the other side of this coin. The hardest part about learning the attractive stuff is when it starts working really well and now you have a lot of options and you're not used to it and you got to start turning people down. That's hard for men to do, to be honest. But you can use humor with that too. You got to be careful though. So part of the formula. Okay, let's go through a little bit of the formula. I won't give the whole thing, but I'll give you guys some actionable stuff today that you can use right away. So I think first of all, one of the most important things that I want to say is I think there's way too much focus on the opening line. And I don't care if you just are going for hookups or you want to get married. There's way too much emphasis on that opening line, and it's not going to make or break you 95% of the time. Sometimes you can say something really amazing as the first line, but it's absolutely not necessary at all. You can put the spice of humor into your conversation with a woman at any time. It doesn't have to be in the first 10 seconds. You can, but don't get in your head and think like, oh, I got to come up with the most amazing thing to say, because now you're in your head and that's not funny.
It's kind of like you have something that you're going to have to live up to. If you have a canned line up front that introduces humor, then she's going to expect you to be funny, everything that comes out of your mouth. Whereas if you say, hi, I'm Jim, hi, I'm Scott, and get into a conversation with her, and, you've done what I call established normalcy. You're a real human. You're not creepy. You're not weird. You're not socially non-standard. She can relate to you. And then 60, 90 seconds later, you say something that's humorous in an attractive way. She'll go, oh, he's funny. You've already done the heavy lifting at that point. But again, it's pressure versus levity, isn't it? If you put that pressure on yourself up front to come up with something funny every time you open your mouth, she's just going to follow your lead. I think that's brilliant. Continue.
And ironically, if you're relaxed about it, something might pop into your head and you can say it. And that's another part of this. Another part of this is just not blocking the funny stuff that you want to say because you're afraid that you might kind of lose her approval, and we don't want to
it's not funny.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing, we don't want to insult a woman or nag her or whatever. I don't believe in that. I think you should build yourself up, but you should playfully tease her. And there's a huge difference between saying, oh, your nose is ugly, which is a put down. We don't want to do that. That's negative humor and it doesn't help in a relationship. Positive humor is what gives that buffer that I was talking about. And so playful teasing is what I said earlier, kind of it's too bad I'm not attracted to you at all. That's different because you're not saying something permanent about her that she can't change. That's something that you're saying about yourself that's kind of I'm not attracted to you at all, but you actually are. So that's why it's funny, because it's a contrast, right?
One of my favorites is to say, oh my God, you and your attitude, you must drive your boyfriend nuts.
Or boyfriends.
You're trying, it's a test to see if she's single or not too.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
No, my boyfriend loves me. I don't drive her. I don't have a boyfriend. And you go, well, no wonder you don't have a boyfriend. You drive him nuts. I would not. I said, well, you drive me nuts if I was your boyfriend.
Yeah, I really like that. I like these little tests that you can run right away.
You're teasing.
So that's good. Exactly. Yeah. So playful teasing is something we want to do. And you want to do that at least once in your first conversation or your first date. Sometimes you meet on the app and then you meet for coffee. So do it then. Or if you just meet her at a wedding or something, throw one of those in there in the first conversation. And don't be afraid to do it, because if a woman likes you at all, if she's even remotely interested in you, they love this. They like it way more than us. I can't believe how much they enjoy it. And I don't know if I worked for university admissions for a long time, and I would talk to people that were like in high school, and women already love just bantering and teasing each other. It's crazy how they get into it so young. I don't know how they do it, but women tend to really love this of all ages. You know, you can
And
banter with
they never outgrow it. Important.
you can banter with an 80-year-old woman at the grocery store. You know, she's gonna like it. For some reason, they like it.
Made her day. Yes.
So don't be afraid. Like, this is something that's good, especially if they're interested in you at all.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the negging thing, because we haven't heard that term probably in a decade, but there's some guys still dabbling in that stuff. Negging was a terrible dating advice. First of all, even, you know, my dad will tell me this. My dad actually worked adjacent to supermodels in New York City for years and years, because he was advertising in the men's tailored clothing industry. And who do you hire for your men's tailored clothing ads? Some hot chick, right? To stand there and look cute. He said those women had the worst self-esteem ever, and they're the most beautiful women. And the whole idea of negging is that you, in your own insecurity, have to knock a woman off her pedestal because you've been told she thinks real highly of herself, when usually most women just have horrible self-esteem. And then what happened was, instead of saying, yeah, well, you're not really all that impressive, I'm not all that impressed, I'm not chasing you, which is good advice for needy guys who don't have a lot of experience with women. Those same guys, because they don't have a lot of experience with women, would say to a waitress who's 22, what are you, like 45 years old? And she'd go, oh my God, ick. And it's like, well, why didn't that attract her? I was told that would attract her. Well, insults aren't negging. Negging was supposed to be, I'm not all that impressed by you yet, because my standards are higher. So then she starts chasing you, yada, yada, yada. But it got widely misinterpreted. And there are some dating coaches out there who were responsible for helping with that misinterpretation. But see, guys thought that was funny, because if you're inherently misogynistic and you think it's going to be cool to go insult a bunch of women because you've been rejected a few too many times, and you start, you know, like Bruce Springsteen would say, you start acting like a dog that's been kicked too much, beat too much, you know, then women understand that, they see through that, they're not attracted. And the point here is to be attractive, not just to put a woman in her place. So what you're talking about is very powerful.
It's ultimately connecting instead of disconnecting, even though you're teasing her, because you're actually saying, I like you. And she gets that at a subconscious level, and she can take that in, versus if you actually say, I like you, now she's like, oh God, this is too heavy and serious. Oh, it's incoming interest.
There's a time and a place to tell a woman you actually like her, though.
Yeah.
When she's done the work to impress you, you can go, ooh, I like you. Yeah.
Yeah. But not the way most guys do it 60 times on the second date already.
Right.
And so
every Taylor Sheridan show character who gets the girl does exactly what you're talking about. And all the guys who are absolute morons with women on Taylor Sheridan shows do what we're talking about not to do. It's like a master class, every one of them in that.
Yeah, and a big part of it is delivery too. So you said, like, what are you, like 45? So like, if you shouldn't really talk about age with women, by the way. That's a general tip. Try to stay away from that topic. But there is a situation where if a specific woman is talking to you and you're kind of guessing each other's ages, and you're like, 72. You know, like, that's like so over the top that it's funny, because she's like, what? You know, like, obviously she's like 25 or whatever. You know, then it can be funny, but you got to be careful about that.
I like to tell women who are 25 years old to stop flirting with me, because I'm too young for them.
Yeah, exactly. You're a little too old for me. If she's older than you, then you say you're a little too young for me. That's playful teasing as well, because obviously she's not.
Well, that would be too serious. That would mean I'm actually hitting on her. This is just so over the top.
Well, yeah, if you are actually in an interaction with a woman that you want to date. But yeah, I know what you mean. So that's the first thing.
Good example, by the way, of unattractive humor versus attractive humor.
Exactly.
I think a lot of times we just knee jerk to, if I act like a dancing monkey goofball moron comedian, you know, like a physical comedian or a goofy comedian, women are going to roll their eyes and go, no, you're not attractive. Whereas if I'm more like Sean Connery's James Bond, and I'm witty and wry and have smart, quick-witted humor, then that's more attractive. I think guys think like that. But what you talked about is also very important. Insulting a woman is not funny.
Yeah.
Whereas helping build the conversation. Well, an insult is also a no but instead of a yes and in pure
Exactly.
improv terms too. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. So another thing that you can start implementing right now in your next conversation with a woman is you can, instead of asking her every interview question when you're talking to her and getting to know her, you can guess once. Just guess something about her. Like, you're from Nebraska, aren't you? Or you're a California girl, huh? Or, or her profession, like, are you a nurse? Just guess something. And it's not exactly a joke or funny, but it's part of attractive humor because it makes the conversation a lot more fun and less boring than just like, okay, so what do you do for work? Cool. What do you like to do? Cool. Do you have any brothers and sisters? Oh, interesting. Me too. I mean, that you should do that a little bit, but there's no spice. You need the meat and potatoes and some spice on top, so add that in. And this is one really easy way. It's a really easy way to do it. Just say, are you a nurse? Or, like, you're from California, are you? And then she's either going to say like, oh my gosh, how did you know that? And now she's like kind of coming towards you. She's interested. Or she's going to say like, what are you talking about? Like, why did you think that about me if you're wrong? You know what I mean? And then you just respond to that where it's like, oh, I don't know. You just have kind of a nurse vibe. You seem like you're kind of a caring person. Now you're
it's like the attempted cold
her.
read is as effective as a successful cold read in terms 100%. Of the social depth there. Yeah.
The only difference is she might feel a little more connected to you for a second if you get it right, but it doesn't matter. It's the same power either way. Now you're having a more interesting conversation. And that's all we want to get to, where she's having fun, she feels safe, and it's a little bit more exciting than most of the time she's talking to a guy.
So Jim, you were talking about how humor is integral to building rapport with a woman, and not only in the short term, but in the long term. Give us another example of what works and what doesn't work with women when it comes to humor, because it's such a huge monolithic term. I think we need some clarity on that. Then what we'll do is we'll talk after that about some easy ways you can at least start cracking the code in terms of tackling this skill, which seems so intimidating to so many guys. But give us another example of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So one other thing that you can use in your next conversation that's really easy, and these things are not all hard. You just have to do it. And get into the mindset, like you're saying, in the background of, oh, actually, this is what I should be doing on a date. It's not a job interview. You're not you're not teaching theoretical physics. This is a date. It's a totally different social environment than most of the ones that we're in, right? So you should treat it like that. And so keep it light and playful. And one way that you can do that is if she asks you an interview question. So we just talked about you should guess something about her. And here's another thing that I want to get into for a second. Humor requires balance and context, okay? So you don't want to make a joke with everything you say and turn into a clown, and then it's not funny anymore. There's a threshold of how much you should do this stuff. It's a spice, like we've been saying. So you don't want to do this constantly, right? You don't want her to get tired of it. It's like chewing gum, and then it loses its flavor. Just give it a little bit. So do this once on a date and see how it goes for you. And that is, give her a silly answer first and kind of make her dig a little bit more if she wants the real answer. So, if she's like, what do you do for a living? You're like, oh, I'm a ninja. And like straight face it. Just straight face it as if obviously it's your real job. You know what I mean? Like, play the bit out if you can. And she's like, oh, no, you're so funny. What do you really do? And then you're like, give a vague answer. Say like, I work with numbers. And then she's like, no, what do you really do? And then you'd be like, oh, I'm an accountant. So instead of just saying like, I'm an accountant, I love Excel, you want to see A4, it's a sweet box, that's not going to be that much of a fun conversation versus, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a ninja. But they don't really portray it that well in the movies. It's actually pretty boring. It's just a lot of sneaking around and trying to be quiet. You know what I mean? So, it's not that cool. And it's silly. This is the kind of environment that you want to have for the most part, and you can do some harsher teases too, but.
Yeah, well, you could, but I mean, let me go ahead and offer what doesn't work relative to what you said. I once knew a guy who made multiple six figures, but he had read in David D'Angelo, whose work I typically love. But there's a couple glitches in the machine there. One of them is never give a beautiful woman a straight answer.
Yeah.
And he took that very seriously. And, when she said, "What do you do for a living?" He said, "Oh, actually, I'm unemployed." "What do you mean you're unemployed?" "Well, actually, no, I sell pencils on the street corner." "Well, no, what do you really do?" And he just would not tell her. He was like the regional director for a medical company or something. And the woman was left to believe this guy's got something to hide. He probably is unemployed. Like, he won't tell me what he does for a living. Red flag. When really he was following pickup advice not to ever give a woman a straight answer, but the straight answer would have helped his cause in attracting her. So, I think that's where the advice you get would go wrong.
Yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. A woman would ask me the question, what I do for a living, and I had a perfectly reasonable answer. I was a regional director for a tech company in the sales department. But I would say, well, I was smuggling illegal aliens into the country in shipping containers. But there was that one time where someone forgot to leave the vent open, so that got a little complicated. So, and she's already laughing. It's dark humor.
That's pretty dark, yeah.
but they would laugh. I go, so I decided instead maybe I should just be the regional director for a tech company. And you go, oh, that's a good choice. But again, you're reading the room a little bit too.
Yeah.
You have to kind of figure out what the woman's personality is.
Absolutely.
Like, too. Let's see if she's already cracking jokes like that, then you can move.
One thing I want to say too, related to that, is be careful when you're texting and using humor, because they can't see your body language or the context very well. So you got to really be careful with that and make sure you know what you're doing. So don't try all this stuff on texting, do it in person first and then dial it in.
Women will take texts and emails literally.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
You got to use emojis, and there's all kinds of things you can do to make it palatable. But if you don't know what you're doing yet, be careful with texting for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of this is room reading.
Yeah.
You can't use the same canned lines with every woman.
Yeah.
Like if she's a woman who, can't handle the smuggling joke.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if she can't handle the smuggling joke, I probably don't want the second date anyway myself, because that's my honey right there. But not one of the dead women I smuggled.
Oh my God.
But, you can use humor to test to see if you get along with a woman. She has no sense of humor, then, take her to the curb, let some other guy deal with it.
Absolutely.
Let some other guy who isn't funny think that's incredible.
She doesn't have to be funny. She just has to laugh at your jokes, which is a way for her to show interest, and you have to match on that. So she doesn't have to, you can be funny, but she has to have a sense of humor, like you're saying.
That's the masculine leadership. Actually, they've done a study on that. Everybody wants someone with a sense of humor. Women define that as he's funny. Men define that as she laughs at my jokes.
Absolutely.
Now, my wife has prided herself over the last 20 years on being funnier herself. She goes, I did one. That was funny, wasn't it? I go, yeah, that was a great job, because she's wanted to learn that skill for herself. Let's get down to the kernel of how we can make this happen quickly and maybe make the first move. And go ahead, jump right in.
Well, like I said,
what's the first step for these guys?
I think the first step is just actually doing this stuff that we've been talking about. Those two things that I gave you are already a lot more interesting than a normal conversation you would have. So if you just guess something about her right away and then give her a silly answer first if she asks you a question back, that's already going to make it more interesting. And then from there's all kinds of stuff you can do like that that's not necessarily difficult, but you just have to do it, and kind of try it out, see how it goes for you. And again, I think the most important thing here is the background information of you just said that you can't use the same stuff on every single woman. And that's true for a lot of stuff. Some of the things you can, but a lot of them you should be contextual with. But also, different guys shouldn't use the same kind of humor and the same jokes and the same lines. You know what I mean? That's one of the biggest problems I had with the pickup lines that were going around back in the day is a certain kind of guy should say this one. And if you're not that guy, it's not going to be congruent. You should say something else. You shouldn't say exactly the same thing that I do every time.
That's important, because I think a lot of guys try to copy a certain comedian or something. And then they realize, well, that wasn't funny when I said it.
You want to be the funniest version of you. You want to be the version of you that is attractive and using humor, not some other kind of ideal that we're going for. That's not what we want to do.
Let me go ahead and offer then 2 very practical tips. Okay, the first one I've already alluded to. These guys have heard me say it before, but I want you to kind of use this as a springboard, a jumping off point. First one is the yes and. The first rule of improv. If you build on a conversation with a woman, like she says something and you say yes and I'm going to add to it, you're going to shock yourself at how soon that turns into something that makes her laugh because it was humorous, not because she's just having fun. That's the first one. The second one, I put it this way. When you get down to it, every joke is some iteration of I just flew in from Cleveland and boy, are my arms tired. Cleveland is funnier than Los Angeles for some reason. And so you look for the most humorous words. Like I think there's a movie called Mr. Saturday Night where Billy Crystal says pickles are funnier than cucumbers.
Yeah.
And they argue about it. No, cucumbers are funnier than pickles, that kind of thing. But this is something you get a knack for is understanding that certain words and items are funnier than other things. But the secret sauce is the unexpected twist.
Yeah.
The irony being the theater of the unexpected. So if you can start training your brain, and this is a habit, you just start training your brain. I see a sentence. I'm overhearing a conversation. What is the exact opposite that could mean while still using the same words? That's not what the person meant to say. I have quick and dirty examples. One time I walked up to a woman at Whole Foods and I said, well, what kind of sample are you serving? She goes, this is chicken and it doesn't have any antibiotics. I said, oh, good, because I want to stay infected. Right. I walk up to another woman and I said, well, what do you got? And she goes, soy ginger. It was a salad with dressing on it. Right. And she goes, soy ginger. I said, pues buenos dias, ginger. Soy Scot. And she just died laughing because she was a Latina.
I was thinking about a red-haired guy drinking a soy milkshake or something.
Variety of things could work in that context if you're thinking, how can I change this around? Now, what makes that funnier in context at a meta level is soy Scot is terrible Spanish. It's just awful Spanish. But it's like something the equivalent of a Mexican hillbilly would say, even though they would even get it right. So it's decipherable, but clearly wrong. And what happens is when you start training your brain to see these things, 2 things happen. First of all, your brain starts taking over and coming up with these things more quickly and more quickly and more quickly, and you don't have to think about them anymore. It's like when you go into a conversation and you have with someone, or you get into an argument with someone, and then you get done and you're driving home 10 minutes later and go, oh, now I thought of the perfect thing I should have said to this person. The more you exercise, the more you develop this muscle like you would in a gym, the quicker you are coming up with this stuff. And next thing you know, your brain just starts saying, oh, this is what we do now.
Yeah.
This is how we are. We come up with these things. And I've gotten to the point over the years where I don't even realize I thought of it.
Yeah.
And here's the second thing that happens. Man, and this is massive. And I've never said this anywhere, even in my masterclass or my programs on this. You start trusting it'll be funny. Because there's a formula to it. In other words, you're not like, oh, should I blurt this out? And everybody's going to go, oh, God, that was so lame. And I'm going to get disapproval instead of approval. When you realize every joke is I just flew in from Cleveland and boy, are my arms tired, then you realize, oh, I want to stay infected is going to be hilarious because it's the same joke. Great practice is to just start watching stand-up comedy or listen to SiriusXM's clean comedy channel, not the dirty one where, bathroom humor, dick jokes are easy. They're throwaways. If you can do the clean PG humor with women, up until the point where you're sexually flirting, sure, you're gonna have this master because that's the art of humor.
And there's, just to add to that, there's British have some panel shows and it's all like quick
Yes.
fire improv, and you can really get quick with
Right.
if you watch that a lot.
Yes. And go watch all, it sounds crazy because it's so backwards old school, but go watch the old Dean Martin celebrity roasts from like 1975. They were so absolutely politically incorrect. You know, they're joking about race with black people and crazy stuff like that. But it's all the same joke over and over again. And once you realize I'm laughing my head off, and a guy just told the same joke with different words than the last guy, different scenario, different mental image, but it's that same irony. It's the theater of the unexpected. And if you can start training your brain to do that, you'll have this skill. And importantly, it's the attractive version of this skill, because if you're quick on your feet and you have an answer for something that's well thought out and makes you feel intelligent and competent to a woman, boom, what have you done? You've proven to her you're probably a good provider and protector. It's very masculine.
Yes, and it's a lot better to show her that you're that kind of guy by using attractive humor than by trying to tell her how cool you are, obviously. And
Oh, for sure.
one more practical thing like that to build on what you're saying that you can use is just flipping the script and saying things that women normally say, like, you girls only think about one thing, or like, I'm not that kind of guy, or, you know, like flip the script on it.
I don't know you well enough to go back to your place.
What kind of guy do you think I am? You know, like,
irony.
Yeah, use the things that they say. Like, I bet you say that to all the girls. You know, I bet you should say, I bet you say that to all the boys, you know, when she gives you a compliment.
Actually, I bet you say that to all the girls.
That could be funny too, depending on the kind of woman you're talking to.
Yes. Very good. Very good. So give us a couple more silver bullets for these guys in terms of establishing the attractive kind of humor with women.
So one thing that's really key here, and this is, again, like, I'm talking to every kind of personality here. So if you're laid back, you know, and you just guessed one thing about her and then you gave her a silly answer first on something, you know, and you're still chilling, not being really high energy, that's great. She's still enjoying it. Another thing that you can do, whether you're that kind or a high energy guy, is make sure that you respond when she teases you in a good way. So women, you might
don't get all defensive.
Like women, okay, let me just say this. This might sound controversial, but women are allowed to nag us and we're not allowed to nag them. That's my philosophy. So she might say something a little harsh to kind of test your mettle, and you fail if you react to that, and you pass if you handle it smoothly and you're still chilling, still keeping it light and funny, because you realize that's her just saying, hey, I'm starting to like you a lot. Are my feelings justified? Are you really that strong of a man that I can trust and be safe?
Again, every man that Beth Dutton was actually attracted to during the entire tenure of Yellowstone.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And so when she says something like, you're an asshole or whatever, you have three options here. And you might have heard this somewhere before, but this is a really good thing to go over. So if she says something like that to you, you have three options, basically. One is you can just ignore it, like she never even said anything. That's always an option. You never even have to come up with anything funny to say. You don't have to come up with a comeback. You can just ignore it and pretend it never happened. You know, that's already kind of funny also at the meta level, because you're not paying attention to what she said. So you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. But if you want to say something, you have two other options, which is, you know, the agree and exaggerate, where it's like, yeah, you know, I'm probably the biggest asshole of all time. I kicked like at least 37 dogs on the way here, or whatever. Just make it like ridiculous, like agree with her and then make it so ridiculous that she sees it's ridiculous.
The first thing that came to mind for me was, you know, let's say it's a Thursday. Well, only on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, exactly.
Oops, it's Thursday.
Yeah. That's another good one.
Because it's so preposterous that you would be an asshole 2 days a week and be fine the other. That's so impossible that it's
only
funny.
After 7 p.m.
I would add to it. I would say only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and watch her reaction and go, well, every second Sunday too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then she'd laugh even harder.
And every day after 7 p.m. or whatever. Yeah. And then
after midnight,
the Gremlins come out. If you remember that movie,
Gremlins come out. Yes.
Yes. And then
see, it's the same joke over
exactly.
and over.
It's the same thing back in the ancient Greek times. You know, it's just more you have to use the context, of course, but it's similar. And then the third option that you have is to treat it as if she gave you a compliment. Guys, you don't have to take things straightforwardly with women when you're in a dating scenario, okay? This is part of being light and playful. You can play with it and lead it in a different direction whenever you want. You can make up some part of it. It doesn't have to be right on there where she's saying it. So she says something and you take it perfectly, like right in that box. You can turn it into a compliment because actually she's expressing interest in you. Because if she's not interested, she tries to move away and ignore you. If she's saying
just walk away.
Yeah. If she's saying something strongly towards you, she's saying, I like you in an uncalibrated or testing way. Okay. So you just say, oh, you're so sweet. Have I told you lately how sweet you are? And just actually take it as if she said you're the coolest guy she's ever met. Just try that one time and see how it goes for you.
Yet another reason why I like you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
A pattern interrupt. It's irony.
Or what else do you like about me? Like, you're an asshole. What else do you like about me? You know, like this, just try this one time. I'm begging you.
Oh no, it's beautiful and it's not complicated.
Exactly.
It's just what a perfectly packaged opportunity to create irony. When a woman insults you, what's the unexpected thing? Remember, your brain's, how can I take this and completely twist around?
Exactly.
Well, you would go, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. When she just insulted you as if it were a compliment, she's just going to laugh because it's the unexpected, and this is backed by science. That unexpected irony, when your brain is challenged in the assumption it just made, literally causes an impulse to laugh. That's the science behind the alchemy of laughter.
Absolutely.
One thing I want to go ahead and punctuate, because you brought this up, and I think there's a way to really underscore it for these guys, is consider every funny movie you've ever seen. Okay. Every Mel Brooks movie, all the Bogdanovich farcical movies like What's Up, Doc, most sitcoms, even for like the Disney Channel sitcoms for tweeners, it's the same pattern. And it's because it's established comedic principle. The guy who takes himself too seriously in any comedy is always the butt of all the jokes. He's the whipping boy. He's the kicking post. Okay. So if you're taking yourself too seriously, you're already fomenting the exact opposite response from women that you would like to see happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very, very important because it's objectively quantifiable. You can go see this in action watching movie.
100%.
Anyway, you're my good friend, Jim Wolfe. This is the third or fourth time you've been on the show. It's always incredibly valid. We've talked about something different every time you've been on this show. This time, although you guys can go to mountaintoppodcast.com/wolf with an E, right? It's kind of like Scot with two T's. There's one too many keystrokes in there you're stuck with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's why I'm grateful that my parents, saved me 20% of the typing. WOLFE, you'll go to Jim's main website, which we've directed to you before. But this time I want to send you to mountaintoppodcast.com/funny, where Jim has a new program where he teaches you guys all this stuff. Talk about it, Jim. What are they going to find in that program?
Yeah, it's called Attractive Humor, and I believe it's 19 modules, and it goes all the way from like what is funny in general, the basic theoretical level, because again, you and I both studied this at that level too, all the way through like how to use it in your first conversation with a woman, during the dating process if you're going for a relationship. I have a whole module on how to use positive humor in your relationship with a woman. And then it goes through the formula step by step as well. And all you have to do is apply your real personality through that. And you're going to be using attractive humor with women from now on. And again, it is almost like a secret weapon, like we've been talking about. And so by the time you're done with it, you're going to be able to use it. And then you just have to try it out. And once you see the responses you get, then it's going to become automatic for you.
Here's what I love about your program. It's the whole toolkit.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you get it nuts to soup, as they used to say.
I actually listen to some of the modules myself again and again, just to keep practicing.
Just to brush up. I do that too. I listen. I ask my own AI, version of me. Vamonos.
Maybe I'm talking to your AI version right now.
I do media interviews.
How do I know I'm not talking to AI? I don't even know.
This is the real version, I promise.
I hope so.
The AI version of me would be much more handsome.
Oh, okay.
You know, brush me up a little. But, you know, I ask Bominos, you know, what are your tips for, you know, if it's something rather obscure, knowing I'm going to be asked about that on a media appearance, just to remind myself of my own content without having to leaf through the whole stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And also what these guys can reasonably assure themselves of, because we've been sitting here shouting from the rooftops that this is a learned skill, that once they have gone through the whole toolkit, they will have this skill.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to still go out and practice it, but you're giving them that skill.
100%.
Right.
And again, you can be laid back and chill or high energy. It doesn't matter at all.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Guys, go to mountaintoppodcast.com/funny, Funny, and get you some great stuff. Jim, thank you so much. First of all, it's getting late over there, so thank you for staying up with us to do this podcast. And yeah, we'll definitely have you back on, man. Always a pleasure.
It was my pleasure for sure. So good to see you again, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, go to mountaintoppodcast.com, get on my calendar, talk to me for 25 minutes if you never have before. This will not be a sales pitch. I want to hear from you. If it makes sense to put together a coaching program, I think we'll both figure that out. But I like staying in touch with you guys and knowing what's important to you. Listen, I got on a phone call with one of you guys just the other day, and I know what my next 2 brief audio programs are going to be, because he basically, you know, said to me, look, I've been wanting you to talk about this and talk about this. And I'm surprised you never have. And I said, you know what? Me too. Yes. And I'm going to go ahead and produce those products for you. So your input is heard and it matters. You're heard, you matter. I want to make sure that these shows are hitting you right where you want to be hit, without the pain, of course, in ways that you can get better with women, be a better man who gets better with women. So get on my phone call, talk to me, get my free newsletter, guys. I give you a free book with it and yada, yada, yada. But what's good about that is you can delete it, you can read it, but you're going to have something you can use that comes to you every day, take it or leave it. And that's there for you when you didn't have anything in your inbox before. So go to mountaintoppodcast.com, get on my newsletter. And I do love talking to you guys. Our longtime sponsors are Jocko Willink's company, Origin in Maine, Hero Soap Company, and also the Keyport. All of those sponsors are handpicked. They're all 3 a marriage made in heaven, which I guess makes me a polygamist. But either way, they're going to rizz you up and make you more manly. So when you take care of the sponsors, you're supporting the show. Go to mountaintoppodcast.com when you visit any of our sponsors and do business with them. Use the coupon code MOUNTAIN10 to get another 10% off. All of that and more is there for you at mountaintoppodcast.com. And until I talk to you again real soon, this is Scot McKay from X&Y Communications in San Antonio, Texas. Be good out there.